let us explore why 99% of meditators stay trapped in their very own dark side. So we are on the third noble truth. If the first noble truth is there are stressors, and the second noble truth is we have evolved mechanisms to deal with life and death stressors, then the third noble truth is we can be liberated from being a slave to our survival mechanisms. And as with most things, I found that taking even an amateurist view of neuroscience can illustrate this. So we see on the screen a cross-section of the brain. When we perceive peril, it triggers our amygdala, which functions as the seat of our anxiety and our aggression. Our dopamine-oriented system then runs with the ball, like Jesse Owens at the Olympics. The more we overuse, let me go back over here. However, the more we passively cooperate with our autonomic nervous system, the more we gently stimulate our anterior cingulate gyrus, which is the opposite of our amygdala. This functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy. And that inspires our oxytocin-oriented reward system. Where the dopamine-oriented system drives our competition, the oxytocin-oriented system drives our cooperation. Where our amygdala drives our cruelty, our anterior cingulate gyrus drives our kindness. Where our dopamine-oriented reward system will always leave us wanting more. Our oxytocin-oriented reward system fills us with contentment. Now, this is not psychological. Oopsie, this is physiological. Consider this. Our dopamine-oriented reward system drives us to hydrate. If we have one tall glass of water and we are perfectly content, we'll never drink water again, and we die. Our dopamine-oriented reward system drives us to eat. If we are perfectly content after eating one apple, after eating one meal, we'll never want another meal again. So it's in our best interests to crave that which we need to survive. Our dopamine-oriented reward system will help us seek thermal regulation, shade when it's hot, a nice warm fire when it's cold. We will never be content with those things, lest we fail to seek them and die. So the craving versus contentment is greatly misunderstood. Buddha didn't say, stop craving. That's insane. We need to crave air, we need to crave water, we need to crave food, we need to crave shelter and clothing. And as a species, we need to crave reproduction. As a civilization, we need to crave creativity and education and using our cultivating talents and then using those talents. And so we are wired to crave these things that we need as individuals and that we need as a civilization. The thing that separates the men from the boys, the thing that separates the women from the girls, is not whether we have a dopamine-oriented reward system. It's whether it is pulling our strings. So that's the question. What we seek liberation for is not the presence of our dopamine reward system. It's from its tyranny. What do we want to control our choices? Cooperation or competition? What do we want to control our communication? Kindness or cruelty? What do we want to control our actions? Cooperation or competition? The $64,000 question. You can tell I'm an old guy because I remember that my grandmother watching that game show. The $64,000 question is this: how can we keep our useful dopamine-oriented reward system out of our personal driver's seat? Simple. By authentically practicing mindfulness and meditation at least once every 12 hours or so. This is the Dzogchen Sende Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For multiple decades, I spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that you would not have to. It is Luke Skywalker Friday evening. Come. Let us meditate like a Jedi. Excuse me, my sinuses are dancing the Watusi. That is a song that is older than me, I'm happy to say. That song but a dance. One of the keys to Bengali crease counting is keeping track of sets of 13 repetitions. Repetitions of what? Repetitions of mindfulness and meditation, wherein we silently and mentally recite the verb watch every time we passively notice air enter our nostrils, and wherein we silently and mentally recite the verb rest every time we passively notice air exit our nostrils. So one inhalation, followed by one exhalation, I call a repetition or a breath. Now, the question is, how do we count these reps? 13 sets of 13 repetitions each in a way that actually enhances our experience of mindfulness and meditation. To do that, we turn to we use our Pasadi Mudra, or also known as meditation gesture. Doing so is as simple as using the tip of our left index finger to support the lower knuckle of our right index finger, palms up in our lap. Not only does this gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to coalesce at our crown, but it helps us when we feel like we are out of spoons and we're on the verge of having a temper tantrum. It's useful at night when we lay down to go to sleep, and it's useful for when inevitably the day of our death comes and we wish to die peacefully. In addition to all those fine benefits, it can help us to keep track of our first solitary or repetition. How are we going to keep track of a dozen repetitions? Because a solitary repetition plus a dozen repetitions gives us baker's dozen, or 13. To answer that question, let us turn our attention to our right hand. Every time we silently and mentally recite the verb watch during our inhalation, let us advance our right thumb across our fingers, beginning with the right little finger's lower set of creases and concluding with, the right index finger's higher set of creases. Let's follow along together as a team. Gathering 13 repetitions takes only a little bit more than a minute. Therefore, if we wish to meditate for approximately 14 minutes, we'll want to count multiple sets of 13 repetitions each. To do that, let us keep track of our next solo repetition, attaching the tip of our left thumb to our left little finger's lower set of creases. And now let us count an additional dozen repetitions on our right hand. Let us keep track of our next solitary repetition, by again advancing our left thumb to the next set of creases. And now that you get the basic idea of how we can count multiple sets of multiple repetitions, let us rest our hands palms up in our lap. And do remember, the moment you have a specific question about the philosophies or techniques that support meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window. For I tend to check for questions at least once every 14 minutes or so. When we make the mistake of actively analyzing stress or change or no self or emptiness, we so exhaust our dorsolateral prefrontal cortex that it triggers our amygdala, the seat of anxiety and aggression. However, when we passively cooperate with both aspects of our autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, it not only does it calm the anxiety and aggression of our amygdala, but it gently stimulates our anterior cingulate gyrus, the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy. Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we have evolved to automatically access both the tippy top as well as the very bottom of our spinal cord. These two regions, working as a team, function as the core of our parasympathetic nervous system. It has evolved to help us to physically rest and mentally release during our exhalation to such a degree that which we watched during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, less defining, less like ourself, and as non-graspable as a vast empty void. It would seem that a simile is only as useful as it is relatable. What is a real-world example of a non-graspable vast empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morning, which, although could look tantalizing to the eye, could feel non-graspable to the hand. So there is no mystery to no self. There is no mystery to emptiness. There are simply figures of speech describing the subtle experience latent within each relaxing exhalation. Remember, the moment you have a specific question about the philosophies or techniques that support meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window. We're going to shift gears now from watching and resting to feeling and resting. We're going to silently and mentally recite the verb feel every time we passively notice our chest swelling with breath. We're going to silently and mentally recite the verb rest every time we passively notice our chest subtly sink as gently we exhale. To aid this practice, we're going to gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to coalesce in our chest by practicing the Sati Mudra, or mindfulness gesture. Wherein the tip of our left middle finger supports the lower knuckle of our right middle finger, palms up in our lap. This is also a useful way to count our first solo repetition of feel rest. To keep track of our next set of a dozen repetitions, we're going to make use of our right hand. Every time we silently and mentally recite the verb feel as we breathe in, we're going to advance our right thumb across our fingers, beginning with our right little fingers, a lower set of creases, and then concluding with our right index fingers, higher set of creases. Together as a team, let us practice together right now. To track our next solo repetition, let us touch the tip of our left thumb to our left little finger's lower set of creases. And continue, and then count our next dozen in repetitions on our right hand, yet again. To track our next solitary repetition, let us advance our left thumb. And now that we're comfortable counting both solitary repetitions as well as dozens of repetitions, let us rest our hands palms up in our lap. Let's take a deeper look at mindfulness. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we've evolved to automatically access the middle bit of our spinal cord, which functions as the core of our sympathetic aspect of our autonomic nervous system. It has evolved to help us to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice all mind's antics of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination. All of them, be they external or internal, physical or mental, pleasurable or painful, interesting or boring, convenient or arduous, glorious or grotesque. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. For Meditate Like a Jedi is made possible thanks to the generosity of viewers just like you. In approximately 11 1/4 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's dawn practice of Meditate Like a Jedi. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.